Hey guys, so I'm just leaving a rehab right on a property that I just reviewed with my contractors, and now that I'm done with that, I'm going to go and look for a property that a student of mine is rehabbing. And while I'm doing that, I'm actually going to drive around the neighborhood and see what else is out there, right? And one question probably I get asked when I show these videos and I show people houses that I purchased, and I just say what I paid for them and then what I sold them for. A lot of people are always quick to ask, how do you find a house like that, right? So what I often do is I drive through these neighborhoods a little bit. So let's say I'm going to work on a rehab, like in this case, I'm checking up and meeting with my contractors. So instead of just getting in the car and driving back home, which is what 90% of investors would do, what I do instead is I drive around a little bit, all right? And I get a feel for it. So as an example, I am gonna go down this way on Beach Road, and the more you're familiar with your target market, which is why I always teach my students to focus on target market, the more you're familiar with target market, the better, because then you understand pricing and you're aware of what's going on, So in this specific case, let's say I'm coming down Beach, right? So I've been on this street. In fact, I did another YouTube video with an FHA video, which was on the same street. So I'm very familiar with it because I've probably driven down it probably at least 100 times. In fact, this house right over here, out your window, you see that house right there? Okay, so that's a house that I basically purchased from a wholesaler and fixed up and then turned around and flipped to somebody else. So I'm gonna go, let's see, I'm on Beach. Let's turn over here. I'm trying to get my bearings from where we were originally on the house. Okay, so there's my rehab over there. On this street right here is my rehab, right down there. You can see it, that red house. And now I'm gonna drive around, and I keep tangling with this FedEx guy over here. He's got a pretty wide truck for these pretty narrow roads. So instead of just getting on the freeway and driving back down, which is what a lot of people would do, I'm just gonna kind of drive around the neighborhood a little bit and see what else is going on, all right? And I'm gonna get a feel when I'm driving through a neighborhood like this. This kind of stuff I'm looking for is I'm looking for how many houses are vacant or boarded up or listed for sale. So in this case, I'm not seeing many, but I'm always keeping my eyes open for anything that could look like it's not inhabited. In other words, that it's vacant, right? That somebody's not in that house. And I'll take, maybe 30 to 45 minutes after reviewing a house to grid around, approximately 16 blocks around a subject area, just to get a feel for anything like looks like it could be potentially another house for me to purchase. And invariably, every single time that I do this, all right, every single time that I do this exercise, I usually come across one or two potential properties in literally 45 minutes. So it's not that difficult to do. If you get used to doing it on a daily basis, you get very, very familiar with what you should be looking for, because signs of a vacant property is overgrown lawn, somebody's not mowing the lawn, or maybe you have piled up newspapers. So anything you see like this, like in this case, I see some stuff on the side of the road that's trashed out like that, right? So anything that like that could be a clue that maybe somebody's rehabbing a house or something's going on with the house. So I always keep paying attention to that. And I also look at the quality of the neighborhood. Like right here, I like this neighborhood. It looks pretty good. And I don't see I haven't seen one house listed for sale, and I haven't seen one vacant property, and I haven't seen one house listed for rent. So that indicates to me that there's not a lot of supply in here. And for an investor, that's a good thing, because no supply means more demand, and more demand means easier to sell. So while it is more competitive, when you do find a property, you've got a much better potential profit, and also much more likelihood of being able to sell it. All right, let's go ahead and turn on this street. So I'm basically gridding in. I'm like kind of going up and down, right, along the different streets. And that's the only way you can really do it. So I go from, in this case, from US 1 all the way through. Now I'm riding on, so this is Shady. I'm on a street called Shady Lane right now. There's a property right there. So you see this? So this is a little unusual, because this house has got hurricane shutters, and the hurricane shutters are all around the house. So that's something that I'm gonna be taking a look at It's kind of unusual, but there is a car in the driveway, right? So that's a little unusual too. So let's go ahead and back up. Just make sure I'm still on the road. I'm not driving into anything. So now I got to take a look at that and say to myself, hey, you know, is that a potential deal? So then what I might do with a house like this is I might take a picture of it with my camera and send out a postcard. I use an app called Deal Machine for that. And I'll just have a rotating postcard that goes out to them once a month for 6 months. It says, hey, is this your property? It looks like it's vacant. Would you like to sell it? And, you know, they may call me, they may not, right? Let's go along a little bit more. Take a look at some more houses. Now there's another house that looks like it's occupied. So far, I've got one potential candidate. I've been doing this for about 6 minutes, this video. And now I'm back out on beach. So basically, you see how I'm gridding? I'm coming in on one main road. I'm going up a block, down a street, and down a block, and then I'm going up like this. I'm doing a zigzag grid. And that's the only way I can make sure I don't miss anything in an area. And, you know, if you're a new real estate investor, you might look at this and think like, wow, that's like a huge waste of time. But I got to tell you, it isn't, because you learn so much. You learn about the neighborhood. You learn about the value of the neighborhood. You learn about what's for sale in the neighborhood. You just get a better understanding for what's going on in the neighborhood. Like as an example, here's a for sale sign on a property, right here, there's a for sale sign. So basically what I can do with that is I can use my realtor.com app. I can plug it in and say, hey, you know, how much are they asking for their property? And is that a good deal, you know, at that price? And then if it is, then I can go ahead and make an offer. So it also gives me an idea if there's a nicely fixed up house and they want to sell it retail. It gives me an idea of what I could sell a house for in that specific market, and that's something that I'm always looking at as well. So notice I'm not going very fast. I'm going currently 17 miles an hour. I like to teach my students to go at about 15. And I'm literally looking at every single house, left and right, and I'm looking for signs of a vacant property, overgrown lawn. I'm looking for lock boxes and doors. I'm looking for rent signs. I'm looking for sale signs, and just getting a feel for the houses and the neighborhood. And usually when I do this exercise within a certain period of time, as an example, he has two houses side by side and they both have all of their hurricane shutters up. Now that could be, in Florida we have this concept called snowbirds, which is basically people that live up north and come down every winter, and then they board up their house for the summer, and sometimes they'll put the hurricane shutters up because there may be hurricanes, so they don't want their house to get damaged. So not necessarily indicative of them wanting to sell, but if it goes along with other signs, like I'll give you an example. Let's look at this house right here. Okay, so here's overgrown lawn and some stuff out there. So that's not guaranteed an indication, but it's enough for me to slow down and take a look and say, hey, what's going on with this house? All right, and try and figure out if this house is vacant or if somebody's actually living in it. All right, so there's a second potential candidate. Let's drive along a little bit more. Here's another for sale, house for sale. I'm going to use my realtor.com app to pull that house up. So you guys see how this works? You're pretty much looking for a motivated seller, and a motivated seller is somebody that is motivated to sell their house. And that may be because the house is maybe a tenant moved out and the house is vacant, and a lot of times just sending them a postcard could be the difference between getting a deal and not getting a deal. So instead of getting on the freeway and just driving back home, I just do this a little bit. But if I've got two properties right there, which took me all of 10 minutes to find, and those weren't great, those were not 100% vacant properties, but let's say I sent a postcard and the owner of the property said, hey, you know, I am interested in selling, what would you give me? And we negotiated and we got an offer price, and I ended up buying that house. Chances are I'm going to flip that house wholesale for 10 to 15,000 profit, and on a fix and flip for a $35,000 or $40,000 profit. So for 10 minutes of driving around, if I could make potentially between $15,000, $30,000, $40,000, it's absolutely worth to do, plus it gives me an idea of the neighborhood and the market. All right, so I hope that video helped you guys. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and like this video, and I'll see you guys on the next one.